Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to update our kind of feral druid teaching videos by going through different talents and discussing like why in various scenarios things are going to be good or bad and talk about synergies. This might be a longer video, but hopefully it'll be good for you and hopefully it'll help out. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. So I'm not going to talk too much about the class tree. If I do get people in the comment section that really, you know, if you ask for it, I will do one. But the main thing from the class tree is just that you get Primal Fury, you get your Killer Instincts and your Interrupt potentially if it's going to be needed. You get like Kara's Teachings, and then you get Astral Influence. As long as you have this, and this, then you're maximizing your damage output or near enough, and you are getting all of the things that you need to make feral actually good. Then it just comes down to, do you want healing, utility, or defensive? So that's fine. But again, ask for that stuff in the comments if you want it. Now, I've been kind of to and fro on how best to make this video, but what I thought I'd come up with is going through like what's most likely to happen. So what's most likely to happen is that people are either going to be playing Mythic Plus and they're going to want to know how to build around that, or they're going to be playing the raid and they're going to want to understand like, oh, what's the best single target build for feral? Well, to answer that question, there is no best single target build for feral because there is only one pure single target fight in the whole of the first raid tier. So there's not really any point in doing a pure single target build except for the pure like one boss that's going to be in there. So I wanted to instead talk about how you could deviate a single target build to fit different scenarios depending on what's happening, and then talk about the talents in that way. So this is the build that I've got going on here, and what you'll notice is that I still have one talent point available, and this is because you can either go Convoke or Adaptive Swarm, and you can be the decider on which one you'd prefer to play with, because both builds of Convoke or Adaptive Swarm are very similar in output, so you can kind of just pick and choose which one you'd prefer. But you can also do things like 1 minute Convoke if you drop, say, like Carnivorous or Feral Frenzy, and you could go 1 minute Convoke. You could, in theory, go Apex if you really wanted to as well, but, you know, we'll see on pure single target. So yeah, I kind of leave that a little bit open-ended for decisions that you can make. And just a side note as well, any of these red, like, box talents are ones that I can remove without the whole build breaking down. Whereas if I was to remove, like, this talent, it causes the disruption of another talent. So that's why you're going to see certain things glowy and not glowy. Right, so going through this build, let's go through it step by step. So I'll even craft it here with you. So you start with your Tiger Fury, obviously. You'll go your Omen of Clarity because Primal Claws is a dead talent. You're never really going to take it unless you're like really low on crit and you want this as your combo point generation, which just isn't really going to happen. And I'll explain this why, or explain why to you. So Feral Druid is all about maximizing your combo point generation, your energy efficiency, and then getting your finishes out as much as possible, generating your blood talents and that kind of thing, right? So if you have multiple talents on this tree that are either bleed based, non-bleed based, like single target or AoE, or energy restoration or combo point generation, you're going to go for the most efficient energy generation and the most efficient combo point generation. And Primal Claws just isn't efficient and combo point generation, right? It's a low proc rate, and it can happen probably at awkward times, especially during your Berserk windows, right? Where you just get zero value from it. So it can potentially at times, at the worst of times, it's a dead talent. At the best of times, it's just not as efficient. Protective Growth is also another talent that's probably just like DOA. It's just not going to be used because it just isn't needed. So you're coming down the tree, you grab Omen of Clarity, you'd skip Primal Claws, you would skip Primal Wrath if you're playing pure single target. Now, I will caveat that in saying that there is a build right now where you specifically play Primal Wrath, even on single target, and it goes a little bit something like this. It looks something like this, and you actually hug in on the inside. And you do something like this, right? Where you actually skip Taste for Blood and you skip Sudden Ambush. And the reason being, it's more energy efficient to save talents here, because you'd have to spend 2 talents here and 2 talents here. You can instead spend 1 a piece and then go down the rest of the tree, which means you have more points in the middle section and you have more points at the bottom with higher value talents. So that's the idea behind that whole like Primal Wrath single target build. But honestly, I don't expect that to go live, so I'm just gonna skip over it, and you know, it's whatever. So you go Tiger's Fury, you go Omen of Clarity, you then go Predator. This has single target and AoE application, as this still, even on pure single target, gives 5 additional seconds of Tiger Fury uptime, so that's really good. But of course, if any mobs die throughout the fight, you also get a restoration of your Tiger Fury. You then go Sabretooth, and you can go Pouncing Strikes. You now have 3 points. Like, those are things that you're just going to lock in. Pouncing Strikes just makes sense. Sabretooth just makes sense. Those are things that you're going to, like, core lock in. You then have some decisions to be made. Like, do you want Tireless Energy, which, again, is energy maintenance? Or do you want Merciless Strikes and to go Lunar Inspiration? Because you can go, like, 2 in this and 1 in that or something. Or you can go 1 in that and then you can do that. Now, for me personally, on single target, I will most likely be playing Lunar Inspiration because A, it's good as a Blood Talons generator because it does a lot of damage. It's good energy efficiency as it's only 30 energy, not say 40 of like a Shred or a Thrash. And it just does good damage. It's also, if say you have to move out with a mechanic and you have to like move out of the raid, you can still Moonfire constantly and just not overcap on energy, proc your combo points, and also just have good damage and have good uptime on your Moonfire. So it will mean that you can still do damage even if you have to move out. So I like the idea of doing that. And I'm still getting 1 Tireless Energy, which is pretty good. So now we can move down the next bit of the tree. Obviously, we don't want Double Clawed, Primal Wrath, or Primal Claws, and then Protective Growth. So now we're at this kind of impasse here where it's like, we're most likely going to want Berserk. There are probably builds you're going to be able to play without Berserk, but we're most likely going to want it. It's going to synergize really well with our Pouncing Strikes, because Berserk makes it so that your abilities are used as if from Stealth, your Rake and your Shred. And if you take Pouncing Strikes, when you're Stealth, your Rake and your Shred do 60% increase more damage. So this is a really good synergy between Berserk and Pouncing Strikes to make sure that you're getting more damage on your Shreds and your Rakes during your Berserk window. You then can grab, like what I like to do is grab I'd grab 2 in Sudden Ambush, right? I'd grab 2 in Taste of Blood, because this talent doesn't do anything on pure single target, and neither does this one. But this does, because this will increase your Ferocious Bite damage when you have more bleeds. And this will increase your damage because your Rakes will be used as if from Stealth, so you can maintain a permanent uptime on a 60% increased Rake. So that's good. The only thing is, both of these talents are quite expensive because they're both 2 points. So it is what it is, but you just have to go for it. Next, I would grab Predatory Swiftness, regardless, because I want to continue down the tree. And I'd grab Dreadful Bleeding, regardless. Now it's decision time again. So those are the things I would just like lock in as default. Now it's decision time on pure single target of, do I want Infected Wounds if I think my Rake is going to be, you know, a big damage dealer here, which generally speaking your Rake will be. It's, you know, 30% increased damage on Rake is good. It gains even more value if you're running Double Clawed Rake, because you're getting that damage on more mobs suffering from Rake, so that's really good. But on pure single target, it's still good. You then have Moment of Clarity, which is an energy maintenance talent. It's going to give you more Omen of Clarity procs. You're going to be able to accumulate multiple stacks, and it's just going to increase your damage on your Shred, Thrash, and your Swipe. So that's also a good talent. You then have Relentless Predator, which makes it so that your Ferocious Bite can be cast at 40 energy rather than having to pull up to 50 energy, which is it's an energy efficiency talent again. It's an energy maintenance talent. But is it one of the most efficient? Is it one of the highest value ones? Generally speaking, I don't think so, personally. But it could come in clutch in some scenarios where you're playing with, say, like Raging Fury. And Raging Fury, you're trying to extend your Tiger Fury as much as possible. Well, if you're Ferocious Biting at 40 energy rather than 50, that means that you're going to get more bites in that window because it's a lower energy cost. And, you know, your Tiger Fury might be like 6 seconds before it's up off cooldown again. And your Tiger Fury is still active, but it's going to fall off in like 2 seconds. And then if you have these 40 energy bites, then you can just keep it ticking just that little bit longer before that Tiger Fury then comes up again. So it can just bridge that gap and mean that you have a longer uptime on that Tiger Fury damage window. Because remember, Tiger Fury is going to increase all damage done by 15% for the full duration. So it's really important to maximize that uptime. So if you want to do that, if you want to maximize that uptime, then Relentless Predator could be an option there. You then have the question, do you want your defensive and do you want to get Convoke? So if you're going to be a Convoke gamer, then 100% you have to take this and you have to go down this Convoke tree. You don't have to take Convoke though, and you can go Adaptive instead. So for me, I would grab in this scenario, you then have Raging Fury and Tiger's Tenacity. In pure single target, where you try, or like a Tyrannical Weak and Mythic Plus and that kind of thing, Raging Fury is really good for the high duration of Tiger Fury. The Tiger's Tenacity is really good when you're in AoE. Personally, to me, I think, when you're also running Apex Predator, because your Apex bites are going to give you an extra combo point. So you can do 2 generators, and if they both crit, you'll be at 4 combo points, and then you'll get an Apex proc, and you can use that to get you to 5 combo points, and also proc your Sabertooth, which is going to make your Primal Wrath do like more damage. So I like Tiger's Tenacity more so from an AoE standpoint than a single target standpoint, but it's still good on single target because it's an energy, or sorry, it's a combo point efficiency. Just depends on how efficient is it compared to other combo point talents, right? I'll kind of revisit this as well. Energy efficiency is good because it means that you can use more globals, and more globals means you get more combo points, and then you get more finishes. Whereas combo point efficiency means that you can be more efficient with your energy, and you spend fewer globals getting to each finisher. So it depends on, do you want more finishes, like, you know, more buttons to be able to press, or do you want each button pressed to have more value with combo points, you know? So that's a kind of a way of looking at it. You then have Heart of the Lion. If you're going to play, like, say, Convoke, I think it's really cool to take Heart of the Lion, because then your Berserk will go down to... This will make your Berserk 2 minutes. So you can have your Berserk line up with your Convoke. Even if you're playing 2 or 1 minute Convoke, it'll still line up. So if you want to do that, that's good. Whether or not Heart of the Lion is worth it without Convoke, that'll probably be a sim thing. You then have Frenzy Band, which I think is quite good, even on pure single target, but also on AoE. So that's cool as well, and it also allows you to kind of progress further down the tree if you want to do that. Brutal Slash or Wild Slashes, I mean, it's an obvious choice. You're not going to take Wild Slashes in pure single target, but taking Brutal Slash does make sense in pure single target. It's energy efficient. It's only 25 energy compared to like swiping in single target to generate Blood Talons. So between like Lunar Inspiration, Brutal Slash, Rake, Thrash, Shred, you can have really good Blood Talons generation, and you know, it all mixes in really well, and Brutal Slash just does more damage than even probably Shred. We'll have to see with final number tuning, but historically Brutal Slash does more damage than Shred, even on single target, and it's 15 energy cheaper. So like per energy point spent, Brutal Slash has really high value, so that's good. It's also affected by haste, so that's nice because we're probably going to go like a crit haste scenario. So in this scenario, things I would definitely grab Brutal Slash because I want to continue down the tree. I would want to grab Raging Fury because I want to go further down the tree, but I also want this talent because it's really good. And then it comes down to like, right, now I'm in a bit of a pickle. What do I want to go? So I gotta spend 3 points. If I'm progressing a raid boss, 100% I'm going Survival Instincts if it's like a mythic raid boss. I also think that coming down this side of the tree is just really efficient for your talent points spent, because you can deviate and you can get Circle and Adaptive if you want it very cheap, rather than having to go 2 points here and 2 points here. You can just spend 3 points here, so it saves you a talent point in the long run, technically, to do this. So I kind of like that. Even if you're not going Convoke, you can still come down here and get these two and these two. So in this scenario, I mean, obviously if I'm going just pure based on how I like to play rather than actual sims, I would most likely want to go Frenzy Band and Heart of the Lion, and I'd probably play around my Berserk window a little bit. So I won't go Infected and I won't go Moment of Clarity. Boo, but that's okay. Then I'll go Rip and Tear because it's really good. I wouldn't personally go Vein Ripper because I like the quick ticking bleeds and playing with Circle. So I personally wouldn't go Vein Ripper. I would go this, and I would go Rip and Tear instead because it's doing good damage, and it is technically still bugged, doing more damage than it should. But you know, if this ends up not being very good, then what you can even do is you can drop that. You can go 2 points in Cat's Curiosity, and you can end up taking Apex, which does similar damage on pure single target as Rip and Tear anyway. So those two, if Rip and Tear gets nerfed and it's bad, then you just go Apex instead, and you no loss there, right? And then you could do this instead, and you could drop the Survival Instincts and go like a point there or something instead, and you could do something like that, and then you can come down here and do, you know, like whatever, you can do that, right? If Rip and Tear isn't good, but let's assume that Rip and Tear is going to be good, then I'll take that. I'll then, you know, take my Survival Instincts. I'll go for my Frantic Momentum, In fact, before I do that, let's review some of these talents. So Carnivorous Instinct is really good. It's going to make it so that, you know, your high uptime on Tiger Fury is really high value because you're getting an extra 6 or 12% damage. Though the second point of Carnivorous Instinct, because of how math works, is not actually increasing all damage done by 6%. It's increasing all damage done by like 5%. So if you go 2 points in this, you're actually getting like 11% value rather than 12% because of math. I'm not a theory crafter. So I personally only like to go like 1 point in Carnivorous just because of the value of it. But, you know, to each their own. Oh, I can drop Infected Wound there as well now. Yeah, so then you can go Frantic Momentum. Again, an energy efficient talent point, but it's not like super impactful, but it's nice to get some additional haste. Like, haste is good for us now, so that's kind of cool. But I think the proc rate of it is quite low, or I don't know, there's just like not massive value in it or something. I don't know why people don't like it like theory craft wise, but it'll just come down to math of like, oh, it's not as efficient as other like talents that give energy. You then have another energy efficiency talent, which is going to be Cat's Curiosity. Again, I would only take this if, like, you don't need it, so I'd only take it again if I needed to go soul and I wasn't going to go down the center area, then I would take Cat's Curiosity, so fair enough. But then you have Blood Talons, which on pure single target is so easy to generate. I would just take it. I wouldn't even think about it, just take it. Then I have Adaptive. Again, it's good on single target. You can play an Adaptive or a Convoke build, that's fine. If you're going to play Adaptive, I think you would definitely play Feral Frenzy. If you're going to play Convoke, maybe 1 minute Convoke is more value than 2 minute Convoke plus Feral Frenzy. Maybe. Again, that'll probably come down to like sim stuff. You then have Soul of the Forest, which is massive value because it's energy efficient and also increases your damage. So it's really good. And it also allows you to get Circle. So between like Omen of Clarity, Tireless Energy, and Soul, generally speaking, your energy issues should be solved. If you're still having energy issues, then you're probably playing the spec wrong. So just revisit how you're playing it. You shouldn't need cats, you shouldn't need MOC, you shouldn't need a second point in Tireless and stuff like that. You should be fine on energy, especially if mobs are dying. So I personally, in this scenario, for me, what I like to do is go here. I love to pick up my Circle because Circle is just really powerful, especially if you're playing like Apex as well. It makes your bleeds tick quicker. It's just really good. So you do that. I then always take Blood Talons on pure single target, and then I'm left with 4 talent points. So I like to grab 1 in Carnivorous. I love to grab my 2 minute Convoke, and then I can even grab 1 minute Convoke, and then it comes down to, do I get a second point in Carnivorous? Do I get a second point in Tireless? Do I go Infected Wound, Feral Frenzy, or Apex, right? Those are kind of the decisions you're making, because you don't need this, you don't need this, or this. This isn't good on single target, this isn't good on single target. This is weak, this is, I don't need it, I've already bypassed it. I'm not going, I mean, you could go Adaptive and Convoke, like that's as well as even still good, I think. Like 25% increased periodic damage as well, does some additional healing. Like I think this is also good, and something that I would potentially be playing. It's something that I'm playing on... No, I'm not playing on pre-patch Ignore, that's fine. But it's, I think that's also a solid option and probably something that I would test out. So you've got some decisions here. I think it can probably come down to personal preference and also just what sims good. But yeah, it'll be between Apex, Adaptive, Feral Frenzy, a second point in Carnivorous, Infected Wounds, or Tireless Energy. Nothing else really would make sense. So now, let's just, for the sake of it, let's just go Adaptive, okay? Hey guys, so this was turning into a very long video. It was 40 minutes long, so I split it into 2 videos. You can check it out at the end of this video. There'll be a little link to it, or in the description, but I'm going to upload this into 2 different videos. The next one is going to be taking this build that we have here and then chopping it up into a bunch of different scenarios of where you would tweak and change talents depending on if it's like big AoE or like, you know, Mythic Plus or like ad cleave, that kind of thing. So go check that video out now. Sorry, this one's a little bit of a long one.